So good morning, good evening, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, citizens of YouTube, Pastor Dowell here. Hey, why community? Why community? Well, first of all, that's a good question, and I'm going to tell you just my personal opinion. You got two choices in this life. If you are a believer in Messiah, you can live the way that the people do in this world, live the way that the Gentiles do, live the way that every culture in the world lives, or you can at least make an attempt to live the way that the Most High is laid out in the Word. You know, I've spoke about this so many times over the years, and not only that, I've shown that it can be successful. What makes communities fail are people who are not bought into the process. You know, it's amazing how that we automatically grow up in America and we're bought into that hook, line, and sinkers because it's all we know. But then when something new gets introduced, which is not nothing new at all, because I'll give you an example. Those of us who live in the South and of course in the North, they've got these people called the Amish and the Mennonites. They've been living on community for centuries. They've been doing that. Now, they do things a little bit different than what we've done, and the reason being is because of, I'm going to say affirmative action, but I'm going to leave it like this, though. The reason why is because they have had lands and homes and farms passed down throughout the generations for centuries, from one family to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next. And so that way, you know, whatever wealth and lands that the family had already had inherited, it passes on and down the line. And they've been doing this for centuries. So they've got a lock on this community thing. And they've been doing it for a long time. As a matter of fact, they're so successful with it that no matter what is going on in the world, no matter what is modernism or things that is transpiring takes place, it doesn't shake them or move them at all. But that's their choice. It's their life. It's their choice. It's the way they choose to live. But however, you know, if you grow up in that environment, you grow up in that culture, chances are it's probably going to be your lifestyle the rest of your life. And that's the reason why a lot of people have a hard time shaking the world and shaking selfishness. Because to do community, at least the best way I've found to do it, and I've been doing this thing for 30 years now, you got to find people that have one heart, one soul, one mind, and one spirit. You got to have leaders that will not fleece the people, take advantage of them, and you know, live on a high hog. You got to have some type of integrity. And the leader has got to have a very serious work ethic if you expect for the community to develop, because the communities are only going to go as the leader goes. And if the leader is lazy, if the leader is lethargic, if the leader is fat and lackadaisical and expects for everybody else to do all the work and everything, and he's not going to show by an example, it's not going to work. It's not going to work at all. So the leader has to be called of Yah. And the leader has to be able to have good leadership qualities and leadership traits that people would follow him in confidence. And he has to show out of his own lifestyle of good work and fidelity. Usually, the leader is the one who actually, if they ever start, and anybody think about starting a community, usually the leader is the one that's made the sacrifice of saving the money. The Most High Yah is giving them ideal, and it entered into his heart, and then he begins to implement it regardless if anybody does it or not. If nobody has ever went with me doing this, I would still have went this way anyway, because that's just the way I was headed in life after reading the Bible. And especially in the New Testament. I got a lot of it from the Old and a lot of it from the New or the Renewed Covenant. And I can tell you this. Now, it's amazing because it took me 20-something years to get the land 100% tax exempt. And I actually have it tax exempt without a 501c3, without having to sign their paperwork and do their government stuff. And I mean, because there's a way you have to go about doing it. They're not going to put it out there for you and tell you how to do it. It's like looking for a needle in a haystack. But once you find it, you can accomplish it. Now, why community? I'll tell you what. I remember when I got out of the military, okay? All right, when I got out of the military, I had no building skills. I could not do anything whatsoever at all. Well, since being on the community, I've learned how to run a backhoe, a track hole, a dozer, a loader dozer. We actually have a skid steer. We have a backhoe out there. I learned how to do tractors and put on different implements. I've learned how to build a home, build a house, build a church, build a tabernacle. I've actually learned how to frame roofs, a hip roof, a valley roof, a gable roof, and then custom roofs. Whatever it comes, takes a little bit longer to do that, but you can do it. That I've actually learned how to build custom cabinets, can lay tile, and I can just go on and on and on and on and on out of all the things I've learned how to do since being there. Some plumbing, some electrical, a block mason, brick mason. Matter of fact, I got a little bit of brickwork to do when I get back home. I'm telling you, man, I've learned so much. But what I learned more than anything is this. This is probably the blessing of the whole video. Again, a community is only going to go as far as the leader goes. And again, the leader has to be the one out front learning all these things. And I'll talk about it often, that any man, if he has any worth to himself whatsoever at all, he should constantly be developing himself. He should constantly. Most of you women, if you're married to a lazy man. Now, if you are married to a lazy man that has never accomplished anything in his life, he's 40, 50, 60 years old and still has never accomplished anything or has never been part of anything great to help accomplish something. Oh, man, I tell you, I feel sorry for you, but hey, your speech and your character, the way that you speak, you can motivate that man, and maybe not. Maybe he's too far gone. But I can tell you this, without a vision, the people perish. And so when I started learning how to dig footers and foundations and do concrete work and rebar and all this other stuff, man, I learned it from the ground up. I started small until I got better, and then when I got better, I built bigger and bigger and bigger. It didn't take me long either. All I had was a willing spirit, and I've been able to accomplish a lot. Now, the biggest thing, here's the thing right here about community is if you learn how to do all these things, because the biggest expense concerning community is the building. I could not afford to go out and pay the experts all this money, because you think about it, you build a house, you got to pay somebody to dig the footing. You have to pay somebody to do to pour the concrete. You got to pay somebody to do the block work. You got to pay somebody to do the framing. You have to pay somebody to do the roofing. And then once you get the roof on, you have to pay somebody to do the sheetrock and the drywall and the insulation. And then you got to pay somebody to do the tile or the cabinet works. Everybody. And then you got to pay somebody to do the plumbing and the electricity. Well, by the time you get finished paying everybody, the majority of the homes or any building that you build is all in labor. So one of the secrets of community is you learn how to do that. You can do it. Sure, you're going to fail. I'd probably failed so much that I become successful and overcame and end up succeeding. But I can tell you this, if you take away paying somebody else for the labor and you do it yourself, that's one of the main secrets, the reason why a community can be built. And if you can get people in one heart, one soul, one mind, one spirit, and that's extremely difficult, especially when we live in this generation, because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. I'm experiencing that now. People who used to love me, their love is starting to wax cold. Not because I've done anything to them. Most of them weak in spirit because they heard what somebody else said or whatever it is, and they just chose to pick and choose that. And I'm beginning to see that religion, maybe this is a video, religion or faith, it's almost kind of like liberal and conservative. It's almost kind of like politics in some way. Depends on your value system. But nevertheless, communities, if you want to become successful at it, you become an expert at building and learning how to do things. And when you do that, You put, instead of money you will pay somebody else, you put it into a community, buy more building materials, and then learn how to buy. Learn the futures markets, learn trends. I cannot tell you how many years that in the wintertime, lumber prices would plummet. I mean, I remember one time buying OSB for $5.82 a sheet in the wintertime. And I said, man, that is really, really low. Really, really low. So you know what I did? I went out and probably bought about 400 or 500 sheets. Now, some homes, you know, we use OSB on some homes and stuff, but we also, when we use OSB, we also cover it with some type of covering or a veneer on the outside or some tin, painted tin. It looks really nice too. So we just don't put tin up on wood or nothing like that. Our homes are pretty solid built. And then I remember one year that OSB went to $20, $30, and $35, and went to $40 a sheet, went to $45. At one time, I believe OSB got up to $55 a sheet. Can you imagine that? And guess what I did? There was a community that was in need. I said, I tell you what, I will give you this OSB at my price, or some I just gave it out to them, which was $5. They couldn't believe it. And then I remember one year, decking board was really low, and I bought a boatload of decking boards. And in Georgia, they got a business down there called Decks, Porches, and More, headed up by Brother Vernon, and they couldn't find wood nowhere, no decking boards, nowhere. Well, I let them know, picked up the phone, let them know, hey man, check this out. I got a lot of decking board. What? You got what? Yeah, I got a whole bunch of them. Man, they jumped in that pickup truck and got that trailer, came up here and picked up all that wood, man, that lumber at the price that I bought it for. And they were able to do a lot of business, all because of me being aware, me being sober-minded, making the right choices and the right decision. I want to say this, and I'm going to say it to y'all too as well out there. Listen, be wise. But the biggest thing, you want to be able to flourish on community and have a community. You want to learn how to do the labor so you don't have to pay nobody else, because labor is the majority of a house. When you go buy a house and they tell you that the house is $500,000, $250,000 plus of that house is actually labor in itself. Not that the house is that much. And if you want to be able to build big and build extraordinary, learn how to do it yourself. And then whatever you thought at one time you could be content with because you're looking at the prices out there, you can easily turn around and build a place 2-3 times the size of what you normally would have done it in, and have plenty of room, extra room and stuff, all because you're doing the labor yourself. And that's the truth. That's not including learn how to deer hunt, turkey hunt, fishing, doing a lot of fishing. Man, I tell you, it's a really, truly a blessed lifestyle. But now here's the big kicker right here. Here's the big kicker. Because I've been able to purchase lands that's under the hub right now in Georgia, Alabama, and Tennessee. I've helped a lot of people. I've helped a lot of people over the years and given out a lot of money to people, a lot of money, with no strings attached, to help them in South Carolina, Kentucky, Indiana, what else? Missouri, all these other places that we have, pretty much places, Tennessee. I've helped a lot of people over the years with no strings attached. The majority of the time, no strings attached. But I can tell you what, the ones that really, truly follow the example, they flourish. They really, truly do. And when it's all said and done, I'm approaching 60 years old now. And for 30-something years, I've grinded, and I've grinded hard. Now, since we have all the infrastructure pretty much up and stuff, and we're still building, I'm mostly, because of the wisdom up here. And I still get out there. You can see me just as recent as a week ago, out there doing concrete work. And that's some backbreaking stuff. Building homes, building buildings. Man, I tell you, there's a satisfaction to watching building something and having accomplishment in it. You have a safe place and a safe environment because you know who your neighbor are and who your neighbor is. You know who's around you. You know who's around your children, and it's just a beautiful thing. You have OPSEC security all over the place because, I mean, if you got homes strategically placed across the land and stuff, you got your own police force, your own security force and stuff, and if world, you know, we live in a world without rule of law, or crap hits the fan, or you know, all that stuff. You have a team, you have a people that's reliable and you can depend upon. It's just a beautiful, beautiful thing. There's so many benefits to it. There's so many benefits, and there's also a lot of spiritual benefits because there's a lot of dying out. There's a lot of dying out, a lot of things that go on today. But the biggest thing is that once my time is up and the people who has laid all this foundation, then we can leave something to the next generation. And we're still going to be building. I still got 2 or 3 more homes I've got to build on some new land we just purchased. And this upcoming year, it's already in the making. The blueprints are being made, meaning right here, what we're going to do. And that's all to get people who have shown fidelity. You know, over the years, I pretty much have stopped. I pretty much have stopped. I've learned this about communities. And I told this over the years. I noticed that the people that are the most ungrateful and unthankful, those who don't have no teeth in the game. I noticed that there's an entitlement mentality that goes along with a lot of people if you just give them stuff. You know, the heart, but the benevolent heart says, you know, if you give somebody something, they'll be thankful, they'll be grateful, they'll be good stewards and stuff, but that's not the case. The case is you've got to stick with the principles of the word, because sometimes I let my wicked heart get in the way, and I've given people a lot of stuff and they had nothing but piss and shit in return. And I'm not doing that anymore. I'm going to watch people's character just like they say they watching me. I'm going to watch people's character, their nature. I'm going to know for sure who I'm doing good to, because we're not going to get burnt by a bunch of people that's refusing to change their wicked Adamic nature to a righteous nature. We're going to have, we right now, our communities is doing really, really well, really, really well. And usually every spring and summer, we usually allow a bunch of people come up. Well, it's going to be a long, long time before I even let any young sisters, any daughters come on the land. It's the brothers. I'm gonna concentrate on the righteous brothers that are righteous men, who you can see that they have a vision, that they're part of it 100%, and they have a future in this. Because the truth is, when it's all said and done, this is it. Most of you out there, you're going to be 50, 60 years old renting, paying a mortgage, and then you're going to end up sick. You're going to get in the hospital. The hospital, when you can't pay your bills. The hospital's going to go after your lands. They're going to go after, because you foolishly got stuff in your name. And I told you, you want to incur a liability? I got so many digressions in this video that's full of wisdom. You keep stuff in your name, they're going to come after you, all right? And then even at that, your family ain't gonna have nothing left over, because they're going to mortgage your house. They're gonna turn around and get all your assets in order to pay those bills before you get up out of here. And even dead, you will end up paying some type of taxes and stuff. So you need to learn how to navigate in this world, kind of like the rich folks does, kind of like the Amish and the Mennonite does. Learn what they do, use that wisdom, and then go forward in that. Because we keep doing it the way that this world is set up, and you thinking that, I don't know what this attitude is. If you got something in your name, you own it. No, you have anything in your name, you have incurred a liability. It's not an asset, it's a liability. You need to learn how to own nothing and control everything. So that's why community. It's a good video here this morning. You have a wonderful day, King coming.